Dunn and Dale Coughlin, who will give us a presentation on the history of Kinsman. Did I get the time right? I hope so. Yes, you guys. I know it's getting. I'm just going. I'll set you up here however you want. Yeah, so you want to be there. Unfortunately, this doesn't punch in here, so you're going to have to hand this back. Yeah, that's fine. It's on right now. It's on right now. So you just have to put it in front of your mouth. Yep. Your Parkinson, your hand? Okay. So you're going to sit here then? Because you have to run that, and then you're going to sit here. And we can just move this because this is just going to be the way. Oh, good. Do you need anything else? Yeah, sure. Okay.
There's one right over
Or
there.
you can scoot back. I can get it on your way. No, not one. Oh, she's going to come up. Okay, that's fine. Anything else?
We're ready to go.
You want to be on this side?
Well, I get what I'm telling you. Everyone has to look through it.
Everything okay, John?
Yeah, it's just that they were too hot.
Art?
I'm going to move over there.
Yeah, why don't you go to Jack? Why don't you come right him sit by her.
See how it looks?
Yeah.
You have to sit by him now.
Or you can sit by Kathy.
Okay,
Jackie and I will sit by her. Oh, you don't have to drag your chair. We're going to give you the art chair.
Oh, no.
No. I didn't mean to make him drag his chair away.
You can just sit here.
no, you picked the right place.
I got it taken care of. I don't know.
You got to take care of it.
Right here.
That's real complicated.
Yes, I made it all complicated. That's what I do well.
You were there, Dick.
You tell me that all the time. Okay, now that we've complicated this. Yeah, right. Very good? Yep, it's already on.
Okay,
You
very
just got to
good.
speak right into it.
Well, I want to welcome everybody to look at the history of the great town of Kinsman. Good little town. Actually, as you look at the screen here, you see a survey that was presented to the Grundy County. It was presented on May the 11th of 1876. It was presented by Thomas and Mary Ryan and William and Mary Marr. This was the approved, it was approved, and Mitchell was actually laid out the way that we know Kinsman. Why did that happen? They found out after they had done the paperwork and recorded it that there was another Mitchell in Illinois. So they in 1886, March 6th of 1886, they filed a petition to the county asking for the right to hold the vote to change the name from Mitchell to something else. And they're granted the permission to do that. They held a vote on March 26th of 1886. When they voted, there was 34 people voted yes, nobody voted no. So the name of Kinsman was changed, or the name of Mitchell was changed to Kinsman. How did they come up with the name of Kinsman? A lot of people, including myself, have thought that it was because of everybody was related. Not, well, you thought you were related anyway. And that really was not the reason. It was a Colonel, Ralph Plum, from Streeter, who was very instrumental in helping them accomplish the ability to get the petition and to get the vote done so that the name could be changed. And Mr. Plum was from Kinsman, Ohio. So in order to show their appreciation to Mr. Plum, they named the new name was to be Kinsman. And a lot of about some of the hardships that Kinsman. One situation is there was a church that was built in 1868 and finished in 69. It was built on the George Myers farm. The name of the church that was given to him was St. Columba. There was a reason for that, was because most of the people involved in the church came from St. Columba's in Ottawa. Actually, that church is still there. It's a big church, right, that they got downtown in Ottawa. And that was the reason it was named St. Columba. In 1885, they moved the church to inside the town of Kinsman and renamed it to the Sacred Heart. In 1889, they decided to build a brand new brick church. And they contacted a Philip Schlachter construction company in Streeter and made arrangements to have them do the church, to build a new brick church. And it was done and dedicated on May 1st of 1892. So, where was the hardship with that? Well, the hardship came on 9/5 of 1898 when the interior of the church was burned, pretty much completely destroyed by fire. They did right away actually start to redo the inside of the church, and they did accomplish that. Another problem that they had was in July of 1903, tornado hit Kinsman. It also hit Verona and Razan. Morris Herald said that Kinsman was the most destroyed portion of the three towns. And a fellow by the name of Tim Hardy, who had the elevator, was the owner and the operator of the elevator in town. He was killed by flying debris.
That elevator that Jim Hardy runs was involved. Another guy whose name I can't remember, but he got a little accident one night and died. He ran into a utility truck. But anyhow, shortly after that, my father bought that elevator, and we only used it 2 years ago. They made reference in 1889 to 13 businesses in Kinsman. 10 were destroyed during the tornado, so it didn't leave much. And again, in November 7th of 1907, they had a fire in the downtown area. Again, depending on whether you read the Streeter paper or the Morris paper, there was 6 or 7 buildings that were destroyed.
Ironically, there was 5 taverns that were okay. And there was a meat locker that was okay, and the post office. The rest of the downtown was pretty well known.
It was just the south side that burned out. They burned out, well, 2-story building. There was a hardware store, an implement store, and the modern woodlands all adding dropping and down to the hardware 10 times. That, I think about that, so he was the mayor.
And they did have another fire that was a school. That was June the 1st of 1937. It was completely burned. The school was actually a high school and a grade school. When it was rebuilt, it was rebuilt as grade. Took care of the hardships that they had because of the fire and the wind. There was some other hardships for him to deal with, and that was some of the gangs and bandits that lived in the area and were active. One example was there was a gang that 2 of the members of the gang went through a gate of a fellow by the name of Campbell. They told the person at the gate that they wanted to, I think I got it ready. They told the person at the gate they wanted to talk to Mr. Campbell about dating his daughter. He come out to the gate and they shot him. Part of the reason is he was pretty much involved in trying to organize some vigilante groups to deal with the bandits in the area. And the very next day, the name of this bandit group was the Prairie Bandit Gang. The very next day, they vigilantes organized, rounded up the 2 guys that were at the house the day before, at Mr. Campbell's house the day before. They tried them. They set up a jury and everything else they needed. They tried these 2 guys. They were found guilty and they shot them right then and there. The Prairie Bandit Gang left. That was the end of that. There was another situation of where two fellows were severely whipped because of horse stealing. They used to steal the horses. They go over to Indiana, sell the horses or trade them for some plow horses, and they take the plow horses back to Iowa and Michigan and sell them there. And they stole more than just horses. They stole whatever value they had, or anything of value. Anyway, the 2 fellows that were whipped, they took them back to their father, told him to get all 3 of them out of the area, or they were going to have the same problems again. And he did. All 3 of them left. So, there was another situation. This actually started on New Year's Day, January 1st of 1866. There was Alfonso Tibbets, Joe Tibbets, and Kevin LePage were involved in this. Alonzo Tibbets and Kevin LePage were arguing over a woman. And not Alonzo, but Joe Tibbetts wound up shooting LePage. And he took off to Indiana. Alonzo came to Morris to ask the sheriff to protect him. And they went on, and there's two versions of the story here. One is that they let Alonzo out of jail, and the other one is that the sheriff went to the southern part of Grundy County, assuming he was sent there by the ones that had come to Morris. And when he left, they broke into the jail, took Alonzo out, and they hung him. And I'm told that he was hung on Southmore Road. I don't know if that's right or not. But anyway, he did hung. Who were some of the early settlers? Well, there was John Weir, there was a John Weldon, and a P.J. Lamb that their name shows up early in the recording books. The three of them, and especially John Weldon, were very influential people. They directed a lot of people to Highland Township or Kinsman. And John Weldon has a little history. He had ordered slavery. He hated slavery. So he created a railroad station for the slaves, an underground railroad station. And people the slaves would come there during the night. They would stay in the buildings during the day, and then the next night they would get on a wagon or buggy and go to the next station, especially those on the way to Canada. John Weldon earned the nickname Big Daddy Weldon because of people going to him for advice. His two sons, they fought in the Civil War, and there was a battle at near Shiloh, and one of them didn't show up that night, so his brother the next day went out looking for him, and sure enough he found him, and he had been wounded, but he was still alive. So his brother took him back to Pittsburgh. They got on a boat and worked their way back to Morris here somehow, and got a buggy and took him to where father lived. And unfortunately, he passed away anyway in April of 1862. I got my paper and stuff here. Some of the other ones that moved to the area were Coughlin family. Moved in 1846. Had an oxen team they brought from Pennsylvania. Tom Keene, he moved in 1865. James Broderick, 1868. Jamie Martin in 1845, came from Indiana. He was joined by his brother-in-laws, John and William Scott. There was a James Funk and a William Pierce, settled in 1850. They were joined in 1851 by Alvin and Christian Small, John Impey, and Mr. Klein. mentioned the Irishman named Patty Lamb, settled in 1855. In 1856, there were 15 voters in the area, 14 Republicans and Patty Lamb being the only Democrat that voted for Buchanan. However, William Slattery moved there in 1857 from Ottawa, bought a bunch of, actually 46 other families from the Ottawa area, and they were Irishmen and gave Patty a lot of Democratic support. And, we'll go on to that last screen, Jay, or Main Street. Let's see what goes with that. No, right there you go. The reason my wife is holding the microphone here is I got Parkinson's, and I'd be shaking so much you wouldn't be able to hear what I'm saying anyway. So she's filling in from the right hand, which ain't the first time.
Before he goes any farther, just for curiosity, Kinsman is the only town in Highland Township that's built on a railroad. And the original railroad was the Chicago Beacon Southwestern, which was turned into the Santa Fe, which was turned into the Atchison Beacon Santa Fe, which is now the road in northern Santa Fe.
Thank you. Okay, here's a picture of Main Street, Kinsman. We need to flip that over, Chad. It's on the wrong side.
Oh, the cabin's on the left.
So that's it.
Oh, you got the grocery.
That's it. Okay, the first picture off to the left here, this is Main Street of Kinsman. I can't tell you exactly what year, but the first picture off to the left here is post office. The next one, the one in the center of the three of them, is it might be movie theater. And either the movie theater, either that was the movie theater, or the movie theater was farther east. And then the one in the end is a pool hall and a laundromat. The story, this is all owned by the same fellow, John Rayvine. The story is that he would operate the movie and have some kind of a problem with the projector and tell everybody they got 15 or 20 minutes that they can go downstairs and get an ice cream cone or a soda at an ice cream shop. So, was destroyed and was used by Trotzels for to show their implement that they had hardware in an implement store. And then later, Don Hartman took over the garage repair anyway. The next store is right here, this big one, is White's grocery store. It may have been at one time Pepper's Furniture Store, but it may have been. It was south of that, and that was a doctor, Dr. Moran, had an office there. And after Dr. Moran's office was the bank at Kinsman. The bank was established in 1907 by J.E. McGuire. In May of 1911, he sold the bank to Cosmo, O'Connell, and Cosgrove, who total assets were $94,903.66. There was an attempt to rob the bank, and it was not during the day, it was done at night. It was on July the 2nd of 1930. They think that they must have been scared off by accident because they left their acetylene torches and all the paraphernalia they had to try to break into the vault. They did also rob the white store, but not very much. They got some clothing and that was about it. So,
Back up a minute. He also, in February 15th of 1889, is the only newspaper Kinsman ever had. It was called the Kinsman Home Ruler, and I think they had a village fair or else the church was going on. And it's only one copy that I know of, and I've got it framed in Kinsman. Kinsman also had a ball team. All of it was named was the Graves. I have no idea what year or what. The ball diamond was just west of Kinsman, which is now farm down. And Kinsman also had a hotel across from the building he's pointing to the left. It was a hotel, which has been remodeled a couple times and is now the office of the mayor, who is Doreen Harlow right now. Her husband was the mayor, he passed away.
Thank you. This building right here, the one in between the two taller ones, that was a pool hall. And my grandpa owned that. And in 1914, the cost for a license to establish a pool hall in Kinsman, the first table was $15, and every table after that was $5. So the big building right here, as you see, that was my grandpa's store. It was a post office for quite a while, and it was a meat locker. Several of Ed Dunn's family operated the store for some time. George and Helen Radosky moved to Kinsman and bought the store, operated a meat locker there for quite a while. Then they moved the meat locker out to the east end of town to Captain Schultz's farm. And Willie, their son, operated it from there. It is still in operation, but it's not the Radosky family. Okay. Okay, we need to go to the next. There you go. That one right there. No, we just had. No, we use this one here first. Okay, this right here is the same street, only it shows you their light at the intersection. It was a kerosene lamp. It was lit by a guy that used to live down at the end of Main Street, actually. His name was John Whitmer. Not yet exactly, but it was close to that. Give me 1 second there. Take a break.
This last building, I can't reach that right, building on this side of the street down towards the far end was a tavern. It's still a tavern. It was closed for 9 years, it was opened back up. It was the oldest tavern in Grundy County. We had, up until a few years ago, there was 3 taverns on that street. One was totally gone, the other one was the post office.
bear with me here. This page right here. My papers are sticking together. Okay, east of this picture that we're looking at would be back this way. Jack mentioned that there was a hotel there. There was also a tavern, a hardware, and a blacksmith shop. Jim Bo- John O'Gani operated. I don't know what happened with that. The track over here in this corner, there was a lumber yard. There was Cosgrove, who I think might have been from Seneca. Down at the end of Main Street, right down this way, was the home of John Gruber, the fellow that lit the gas kerosene lamps. And he had a photograph shop. H.D. Baker that had a black shop down there in the city waterworks. There was a Swedish Lutheran church that was built in 1903. It was a half a quarter and a half miles south of it. And folks, that got Jack. Anybody got any questions that I'll get Jack to answer?
How did he light that kerosene lamp that was up so high?
I don't know that for sure, but he must have had some kind of a long pole that he was able to light it with. I don't know.
So cool.
I don't know that. Pardon me? Yes.
How many businesses are in Kinsman today?
Well, there's the tavern I told you about. And taverns have something to do with it.
The reason there was 5 taverns in Kinsman, the next little town going east is Verona, the next one was Mazan, and both of them were dry. Verona had a coal mine. You know where they all ended up, don't you? In Kinsman.
I think farming community had quite a bit to do with it. A lot of good people in Kinsman. Just like there is around here. Yes, sir.
My mom graduated MDK in '37, and when we would be going down Grand Ridge Road, she would point right, I think it was right after Bar 1 and 3 where the coal mine was at.
Yeah.
And then we would go down further, and she'd show me where that school was at that's all almost torn down on the right. She went to grade school there. And then she had a girlfriend from high school named, you may know her, I don't remember. I knew her as Isabel Weston. But her family owned a grocery store, I believe my mother told me, inside Kinsman. And Isabel was born probably in 20, so it would have probably been when she was in her growing up years.
Yeah, you know, it amazes me the number of grocery stores or general stores that they had in Kinsman. You know, I mean, you know, just looking at the maps, it seemed like every block had 2 grocery and general stores. You know, it was, going back to your question, I think it was farming community, railroad going through there helped quite a bit. You know, Morris had the river, and that was really instrumental in moving grain. Kurt?
You said that the bank was robbed in the 1930s?
They tried to rob it.
Well, how long past that was there a bank still linking?
I don't know exactly when it closed, but of course it was like other banks that closed during the Depression.
I just thought that was pretty late to still have a bank in the 1930s.
Yeah, it would have been, maybe that's the reason they were robbing it.
That bank building that you talked about is still in Kinsman. It's a private residence.
it was after the bank closed, it was used as a repair shop by Lenny and Donald Swanson. And then Overhampton had an appliance store in there. Was that before Swanson's?
Yeah, Swanson built that, or used that when Coughlin worked down.
And then Norma Faustino was there now. Yes, ma'am.
Dale, is the church the same that was built in the 1890s then? It's the same building?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
The church is beautiful. It's a beautiful church. If you're into visiting different churches, it's a beautiful church.
When they built that church, it had a 100-foot steeple on it. And they remodeled the church some years later. Well, I was a young kid, but I remember they took 17 feet out of that steeple. So you can still see it coming down the road.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I would like to have you folks join me. I want to give some recognition to somebody that has deserved it for a long time. That's this guy sitting right here. Okay. He lived in Kinsman pretty much all his life. How long have you been here, most?
Yeah, a little more now.
How long?
5 or 6 years. I spent 83 and a half years in either near or in Kinsman.
Jack was on the fire department at one time, but primarily him and his wife Pam were instrumental in building a community center in Kinsman. It's a fantastic community center. It's got a nice kitchen, got a nice dining area. It houses the fire equipment that they have. And I'd like to have you join me in giving them two a hand for their accomplishment. That includes you, Pam.
Just out of curiosity, I told you that my father bought that grain mill there. He bought it in 1928. I sold it in 1985. But I was there with him for 33 years.
All right.